was hard. At night we'd sleep cause we was tired. Never thought of ever leaving Butcher Hollow. A lot of things have changed since way back then. And it's so good to be back home again. There ain't much left but the floor. Nothing lives here anymore except the memories of a coal miner's daughter. Except the memory of a coal miner's daughter. One of the few congregations that have a little Loretta before the service. Congratulations. I think I've got one more and we'll commence. This is a Bill Staines song. Babe was born along the highway, a tiny helpless thing upon the sand, Pinocchio with a dream out on the byway. He took the babe and held it proudly in his hand. The woman smiled, gentle smile of knowing, whispered something softly in its ear, perhaps a little prayer to help it growing, perhaps a word of comfort through the fear. And you can trust the moon to move the mighty oceans. You can trust the sun to shine upon the land. You take the little that you know and you do the best you can, and you see the rest with the quiet faith of man. Tractor makes its way along the fence line. The seeds are dropped precisely in a row. And if the rains are kind and the winds don't take the topsoil, before too long the crops will start to show. Now the farmer sees the fields around him ripening, whispers something low beneath his breath, perhaps a little prayer to help the growing, perhaps a word of thanks for all the rest. And you can trust the moon to move the oceans, and you can trust the sun to shine upon the land. You take the little that you know, you do the best you can, and you see the rest, the quiet faith of man. There's a storm-tossed ship tonight out on the water. There's a soul some somewhere adrift out on the blue. There's a dreamer with her eyes upon the heavens. They're all looking for a way to make it through. And you can trust the moon to move the mighty oceans, or you can trust the sun to shine upon the land. You take the little that you know and you do the best you can, and you see the rest with the quiet faith of man. You take the little that you know, you do the best you can, and you see the rest with the quiet faith of man.
Good morning, all. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Shenandoah Valley. My name is Rochelle Broom, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We are a welcoming congregation, united on the side of love and justice. We like to say we don't have to think alike to love alike. We strive to walk through this life with both open hearts and open minds. May the time we spend together today in this place make us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. Amen. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, I encourage you to take note of our mission statement, which is printed on the front of your order of service. We also work together to promote and practice the 8 principles, which are printed on the inside of the order of service. It is our tradition to welcome first and second time visitors to UUCSV, or those of you who may not have been here for a while, to stand up if you're comfortable, introduce yourselves, and let us know where you're from. How about this side? Anybody on this side?
Hi, my name is William. I grew up in the congregation in Asheville and just moved to Morganton.
Yay, welcome.
Welcome, William. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else on this side? And how about this side of the sanctuary? Yeah. Looks like you're batting for the home team over here. Okay. Well, welcome to you all. We're exceedingly glad that you're here. If you're interested in learning more about us, or you'd like to receive our newsletter or find out how you can be more involved in this community, there's a white card in the back of your pews. There's also some that are out on the table in the foyer. If you'd fill those out and place it either in a collection plate or leave it on the table in the foyer, then we would be able to get in touch with you with whatever manner you let us know you like to be reached out to. And we're happy to do that. I've got just a couple of announcements today. One of them is a parishioner who is with us here today, Jessica Thomas. She needs a ride to church for the next couple of months, and so we're hoping if there's anybody she lives right here in Black Mountain, if there's anybody who's interested in being a part of a pool group to help bring her back and forth to church, please reach out to Larry Perlman, because he's gonna sort of orchestrate all of that and make sure we've got coverage to get her here to participate with us. The second announcement is that, you all know it's tax time, and so as all of your letters are flowing into you from causes that you've contributed to, for those of you who pledged last year and so graciously gave of what you earned to help our congregation continue to grow, we have your letters as well for you to be able to turn in with your taxes. And so there is an accordion file that's out in the foyer. There's a bunch of envelopes in there. They're all alphabetically arranged in there. So if you'd like to stop by after services and pick up your letter that proves your gift to us, that is there. For those who are not here, then we'll of course get those sent out to them. Last thing I'd like to do before we continue on is it's our practice to acknowledge that the land where we are now gathered has not always been ours to call home. UUCSB acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee and of other indigenous people. The Cherokee, through stewardship, understanding, and conservation, survived and thrived in this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. So now everyone, if you would please silence your cell phones or completely power down your cell phone, and our service may begin.
Thanks, Rob. I'm Lee Redding, and I'll make a quick general announcement regarding Sunday Service Associates. We are a hardworking committee that fills the pulpit about 21 Sundays each calendar year, when our minister, Michael Carter, isn't scheduled to speak. We encourage you to continue your practice of thinking of good speakers, musicians, artists, activists, who would be a nice fit for our congregation. Let us know. Diane Graham, Andy Reed, Harry Petrokin, Robbie Madden, Sally Smith, or myself. And we try to do two things at once: vet the suggested speakers and then look at our calendar and kind of find a good fit. So it's an interesting process. How we found Meg and Todd Hoke, who I'm going to introduce in a minute, is because they sent us a very friendly email themselves last late summer, early fall, and told us about a new sermon and song that they had created, and they actually debuted it last August, I think, at the Hendersonville Fellowship. They live in Hendersonville. So it was pretty easy to vet them, because all I had to do was go to their YouTube channel and watch. And we liked it, and we were finally able to kind of do that little puzzle piece of finding a window that worked for them as well as us. And so here they are. Before I go further, I just thought of something I'd like to do that's kind of fun. And it's a little bit of a litmus test for how green we are as a congregation. So let's just kind of think about our carbon footprint that brought us here this morning to worship together. Would you please raise your hand if you walked to church this Sunday morning? Cool, pretty good. Raise your hand if by chance you rode your bike to church this morning. Mr. Spence Foscue, what? Way to go, Spence.
Wait a minute, how about the walkers? It was called for us.
Yeah, it was. Okay. So Todd Meg kind of made a pilgrimage from Baltimore to Austin. A lot of singer-songwriters do that. But the pull of the mountains, particularly family, brought them up to Western North Carolina in 2005, something like that, yeah. I was naughty while Meg was trying to kind of review her notes for this service. I asked her if she could invite any artist, living or dead, to dinner with her and Todd next week. Who would she invite? And I was pretty much sure that she would have said, Woody Guthrie, heck yeah. She said Lizzo. Oh, hey, we have some fans. If some of you don't know who the heck is she, check out the Grammys tonight, people. It's on CBS, 8 o'clock. Okay, I digress. Yeah, put it together and let us consider it. A little advertisement for our next sermon and song. Some of you know and are fans of Jewel Song, an incredible quartet from the Raleigh area. When we got shut down during COVID, remember those 8 long months when this building sat empty? And we had already booked Jewel Song to come and do a live concert service for us. And they put together one of the most amazing videos that combined poetry, photography, the spoken word, and some incredible music. And their service, just in our archives, Evan knows that I'm telling you the truth, because we see how many people view each service on YouTube. That's a little metric that's right there, people. And our most viewed service ever that we have recorded on Evan's little iPhone there is Jewel Song. They're coming back, I'm forgetting what Sunday in April, but as long as they stay healthy and we stay healthy, please, it'll be live right here. You don't want to miss Jewel Song. But today, we don't want to miss Todd and Meg Hoke with Hard Times.
Yeah, I did.
So you want me to go on?
Yeah.
While they coordinate this, I forgot to say that the definition of frontline essential workers in healthcare, you're looking at two of them right here.
Ooh, sorry.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we're gonna do the cello sliding right now. It's really good to be here this morning. Interestingly, well, oh, I'm sorry. You can probably hear me better if I take my mask off. I'm so, we work in healthcare. I'm really used to just wearing a mask all the time. While we're here, Michael Carter is at our fellowship in Hendersonville this morning. So we're having a literal pulpit exchange without knowing we were doing that.
That was unplanned.
Yes. Our opening words this morning are by Kathleen McTeague. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. Now your music.
Was Kathleen playing in
No.
435?
I'm sorry. So, yes, that was not a hymn. Those were words.
Oh, good morning. My dinner guest would be Leon Redbone. You didn't ask, but that's
What did you say?
I said probably Townsend Zan or Guy Clark.
Towns would be too depressing. I ain't got no home now, I just ramble round. I work when I can get it, boys. I go from town to town. Police wow, I've done this song 380 times and I've never forgotten the lyrics. Right? Middle-aged at last.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, hang on just a second. They're up there. I ain't got no home, well, I just ramble around. I work when I can get it, boys. I go from town to town. Police make get hard wherever I may go. Ain't got no home in this world anymore. I was farming on the shares, and always I was poor. My crops I had laid up in that banker's store. A rich man took my home and he drove me from my door. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Our 6 children I have raised, now they're scattered and they're grown. And my darling wife, up to heaven she is flown. Died of the fevers there on our cabin floor. Ain't got no home in this world anymore. So I'll mine and you're mine, sir, I'll gather up your corn. Yeah, I've been working, mister, since the day that I was born. And worries, I've had worries just as long as I've known. I ain't got no home in this world anymore. Well, I'm stranded on a road, and it runs from sea to sea. 100,000 other souls stranded out here with me. 100,000 hungry, 100,000 poor. Ain't got no home in this world anymore. And so as I look around me, friends, it's all too plain to see that this so wicked world, it's a funny place to be. The government man, he's a rich man, while the working man's kid poor. Ain't got no home in this world anymore. I ain't got no home in this world anymore.
We're going to do a responsive reading. So if you will grab your gray hymnals and turn back to number 575. Y'all, you can just sign at me to take my mask off if I keep forgetting. And we're going to do this backwards. Typically, I start and then you read, but we're going to do it the other way around. So you're going to read that first line. I'm going to read it with you to help you get started, and then I'll say it, and then you'll say that refrain over again. Before we start, I do want to recognize that the language here is binary, and I recognize that we now know people can be more on a spectrum or identify differently. And I just want to acknowledge that before we start. I'm going to say more about that in my talk, but just wanted to acknowledge that before we read this. Okay. A new manifestation is at hand, a new hour is come, when man and woman may regard one another as brother and sister, able both to appreciate and to prophesy to one another.
A new manifestation is at hand, a new hour is come.
What woman needs is not as a woman to act or rule, but as a nature to grow, as an intelligence to discern, as a soul to live freely and unimpeded, to unfold such powers as were given her.
A new manifestation is at hand, a new hour is come.
Man does not have his fair share either. His energies are repressed and distorted by the interposition of artificial obstacles.
A new manifestation is at hand, a new hour is come.
We would have every arbitrary barrier thrown down. We would have every path laid open to woman as freely as man.
Were this done, we believe a divine energy would pervade nature to a degree unknown in the history of the former ages.
A new manifestation is at hand. A new hour is come. Thank you.
We invite anyone who would like to come forward and share a joy or concern that's in your life and heart right now. This is your opportunity. Diane will light a candle, and you are welcome to come forward.
Hi, my name is David Reed. I just want to light a candle of thankfulness, I guess, for everybody who's expressed concern over my joining the Rotator Cuff Club recently, back in January, and especially folks for their cards and offer of fixing a meal. The second candle is for our African new American friends who are currently looking for a new house to rent. If anybody knows of one, obviously you know this tough proposition in the Asheville area in Black Mountain. So we're looking for a 3-bedroom, hopefully 2-bath, but 1 bath will make do. Now, if you know of anything that is a reasonable price, please let my wife, Jane Carroll, know. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Larry Perlman. I have a couple of candles for Diane to light. One is a candle of joy. As many of you know, Marty has been in Manhattan for the last week with her family as her son-in-law underwent heart surgery. He had an aortic valve that they thought they would have to replace. As it turned out, they got in there, found out they could repair it, which was a whole lot better. And he's already out of ICU. He's recovering well. So candle of joy for that. And a candle of joy for me because Marty's returning this afternoon. So I'll get to see her again. And also candle of concern. Our friends David and Alice Wells are both down with COVID right now. I don't think they have a real serious case, but they've got it. Thank you, Ro, for making the announcement about we need people to bring Jessica here for the next 3 months because her home says if somebody has COVID, you can't get in their car for 3 months. Oh, wow. So in addition to that announcement though, if somebody could take Jessica back home after service today would be great because I'm going to be tied up in meetings for like a few hours. So that would be wonderful. Thank you.
My name is Lynn Vanover. I'd like to light a candle for concern. There's a young girl from our community named Naomi, and she is 20 years old and is battling an aggressive form of cancer. She's at Mission Hospital for a while. They've just transferred her to Duke, so I'd like you to keep her in your thoughts and think of her as she works against this challenge.
I almost want to light a candle to get this mask off me. I'm Andy, and in the ongoing saga of my neighbor Ruth, who had COVID and went home and then developed double pneumonia and went back in the hospital and is now and then into rehab, she is finally home with rehab and doing much better. So I'm still helping her daughter and son-in-law look after her, but it's wonderful news for her. And with my own little saga of cataract surgery, my follow-up appointment, the doctor discovered that one little bit of the lens that he removed from my eye had not dissolved, had not disappeared, so I have to go in again this Wednesday to have him open it up and vacuum it out. He said the operation itself literally takes about 2 minutes, but of course I'll be 24 hours of anesthesia and all that stuff. So maybe then my body will get rid of that old lens and everything will be perfect. So that's my candle of hope.
My name is Jim, and as many of you know, I have a son in Minneapolis who has been in assisted living for many years now with his mental issues. And Thursday night, I fly to Minneapolis, rent a truck Friday morning, and we're moving him to his first real apartment at age 29. He got a federal housing certificate, which can be used in Minneapolis and maybe someday here in Asheville. But a joy that he's moving on out of assisted living, and a concern that he can do it.
I'm Mary Soyanova, and one of our dearest members, Ann Silman, at 92, had double pneumonia. She's getting better. She's at the Crest Ridge Rehab Center, and it's right down at the end, almost to exit 66. And she would love to have guests or visitors. She's doing well. For a while there, I thought maybe she wasn't gonna go home. But she's healing, she's doing better, and I think she's gonna go home. But if you'd like to go and see her, it's a long day when you're in a rehab center all by yourself, so.
Mountain Ridge Rehab.
Yeah.
Diane, I think we need a candle for Riley Madden. I learned this morning that she also has COVID right now. And we'll light one final candle for any joys or concerns that you're holding and chose not to share with us this morning. Thanks, Diane.
I'm hearing a lot of COVID talk, and Todd and I can sympathize.
Take your mask off.
Yeah. I'm hearing a lot of COVID talk, and Todd and I can sympathize because we avoided it for 3 years, but we're on the other side of it just now. So you can still hear a little bit of this in my throat, so I apologize for that.
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all some sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around our cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more.
This morning, our hope is to share songs of struggle and words of prophecy, connecting the strife of the past to the challenges we face today. Racism, sexism, disproportional wealth, and the ignorance of sexual and gender identity have caused incredible violence and suffering throughout the history of our country. Many fear the return of such times. But before we go there, let's pause for a while and understand voices, emotion, and vision from our past. Margaret Fuller, who wrote our responsive reading, was born in 1810 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And although she was not afforded the education of her male counterparts, was nonetheless a brilliant thinker and well respected by peers such as Ralph Waldo Emerson. She edited journals, wrote articles, reviewed books and papers, and was the first female foreign correspondent. She was a strong voice for women's rights and abolition of slavery until her untimely tragic death in a shipwreck in 1850. Stephen Foster was born in 1826 and lived almost all his life in Pennsylvania and New York, visiting the South only once. His initial success was from writing minstrel songs, many of which romanticized slavery and plantation life. He was no advocate for social change or social justice, but as the country drew closer to civil war and he matured, he did seem to gain more understanding and sympathy for those who struggled. His songs enjoyed great popularity, but he never gained any significant wealth from his music. Some historians believe that he was a depressed alcoholic who died of infection at age 37 after a botched suicide attempt. Hard Times Come Again No More was published in 1854. Woody Guthrie was born in 1912 and lived in a small farm town in Oklahoma. His family was poor and beholden to the bankers. During his childhood, he witnessed a great oil boom and how it brought wealth, but also wrecked the quiet town. And then, as the Great Depression took hold, the oil wells ran dry, and finally the Dust Bowl made life impossible for his family. Woody started his wandering and wound up in California, where he saw the unfair migrant labor practices, the unions organizing, and the power of the wealthy to crush the poor. And this is where he wrote, I Ain't Got No Home, which reflected all of this experience and demonstrated his alliance with the hardworking and long-suffering poor. All three of these folks influenced American culture through word and song, reflecting the struggles and oppression of their time. The thing is, America is still struggling with these same issues. The hard times just keep coming.
'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around our cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There's a pale, drooping maiden who tolls her life away with a worn heart whose better days are o'er. Though her voice would be merry to sing all the day, oh, hard times come again no more.
Although Foster's depiction of a pale, drooping maiden kind of brings to my mind an image of a depressed Cinderella, it does actually reflect a real truth. Poor women throughout history have had to work hard during the day to earn some coin or keep, and then were expected to maintain the house, raise the children, and care for others in the community. Even now, women in a heterosexual marriage continue to be the primary housekeepers. In 2020, the Bureau of Labor Statistics released data that said that women earn about 83 cents for every dollar a man makes. In other words, in the nearly 200 years since Margaret Fuller wrote her piece we read, we are still working towards manifesting a society where every path is laid open as freely to women as men. The same is true for every other oppressed or marginalized group in the U.S. People of color are still more likely to live in poverty. We know there are inequities in our justice system, education system, and housing markets, and people of color are often caught in a cycle of poverty that is difficult to overcome. LGBTQ Americans face significantly higher poverty rates than heterosexual Americans, especially when it comes to transgender individuals. One of my dear friends is transgender, and she has described to me her frustration that she cannot get proper care and feels that her life is at risk. She battles depression and anxiety and is trying to rearrange her life so that she can live somewhere that feels more safe and supportive of her. All of which is to say, Fuller's concern about women extends to people of color, LGBTQ folks, and others who are marginalized by our society, so that many folks still do not have the means to live freely and unimpeded, to unfold powers that were given them. There's more than pale, drooping maidens toiling and weeping because of hard times.
'Tis a song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times, come again no more. Many days you have lingered around our cabin door. Oh, hard times, come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty, and music bright and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks still say, oh, hard times, come again no more.
This verse is a powerful description of the root of all our hard times, the dichotomy of haves and have-nots. People who are in the party versus people left out in the cold. People who have access to resources for whom the systems are made, housing, banking, education, and so forth, versus the folks who are oppressed by these same systems. This is exactly what, about 100 years after Foster, Woody Guthrie was singing about. I'm stranded on a road, it goes from sea to sea, 100,000 other souls stranded out here with me, 100,000 hungry, 100,000 poor. We ain't got no home in this world anymore. over 75 more years have passed, and here we are, still with so many in our country struggling, so many feeling that they have less power, less control over their lives, their bodies, so many who feel left out in the cold, and many who are furious about it. It is astounding that there are serious conversations about how the grand experiment of American democracy is in danger of ending, that democracy is being undermined, and people are losing faith in all branches of government. We are witnesses to a wildly dysfunctional Congress, a Supreme Court overturning 50 years of established law in order to restrict women's rights. There are states passing laws to prevent medical care to transgender people, and police using a tiny infraction as an excuse to murder Black men and women. It's terrifying. What's even more frightening and infuriating is that so many Americans seem willing to ignore problems, even problems that face every single one of us, like a COVID pandemic or climate change. There's been a flurry of COVID cases out in the community, but we've seen it at our hospice, and we still have visitors who come and argue with us about having to wear a mask in our facility. Very few people are willing to change their lifestyle in order to help the environment or support changes for climate change. And gun violence and mass murders continue to happen in dance halls, houses of worship, schools, concerts, and parades because people prize their guns over human lives. I mean, we all know what these problems are, and we seem incapable of solving them together. It goes on and on and on. Woody sings, "This wide, wicked world, it's a funny place to be." And oh man, it sure is.
'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times, come again no more. Many days you have lingered around our cabin door. Oh, hard times, come again no more. 'Tis a sigh that is wafted across the troubled wave. 'Tis a wail that is heard upon the shore. 'Tis a dirge that is murmured around the lowly grave. Oh, hard times, come again no more.
So, yeah, this is totally depressing and discouraging. The work of a just society is never ending. We will never reach that ideal. But that does not mean it's hopeless. It absolutely is not. Can you imagine what Margaret Fuller would think about having a vice president who is a woman of color? Woody Guthrie lived in an era when Social Security was being put in place and died in 1967, right as Medicare began, just before the Civil Rights Act was passed, and before women gained the right to buy homes, own credit cards, access abortions, and even play sports in school. I don't don't know what he thought about gay rights, and I'm sure he didn't imagine even the concept of gay marriage, much less that it could be legalized, or that transgender folks would win significant legal rights. There has been incredible progress, and maybe we got complacent. My generation grew up with the assumption that this progress was stone cold fact, that the laws were settled, that civil and equal rights had been achieved, that we would never go back. Clearly, my generation was wrong. The powers that want to disenfranchise women, the gay community, transgender people, people of color, and most of all, probably, the poor, they are organized and have effective strategy and tactics. But we have numbers, even if we are less focused. This time requires us to gather our strength and work together. We are gaining knowledge all the time, having a better understanding of the world around us. We have so many more tools at our fingertips, like the internet, so that we can understand better our web of human existence. I am sure that UU congregations across the nation have been working towards that. I know you have. I read even before Rochelle said it, your acknowledgement that this land was Cherokee land. And it's so important for us to acknowledge these kinds of things. So I know you are also aware of inequalities in your town. I know, listening to the gentleman who's looking for rent homes. These are things that are right here in our community. It's the same in Hendersonville. And it's good that we have a community where we can share and help each other and become aware of these problems. And the inequities, not just in our towns, but in Western North Carolina, and in our country, and in our whole world. And this is what our principles are all about. Our 7 principles aimed us to it. The 8th principle tells us to do something about it. We recognize the interdependent web of existence, and we recognize that we have to constantly work to bring justice to our society. There is always more to do. Right now, we are at a historical crossroads. Maybe it helps to look at our forebears to guide us, but also to reassure us that we have been through difficult challenges before, and our world has become more just because of all the work that our predecessors and our current generations have done. We have to continue to be vigilant, loud, and powerful, and we can be. Mourn for what is no more, or for what we thought was. Acknowledge the soul's fatigue, but then, together, we keep working. These may be hard times, but whatever the future holds, we can come together, look into another's faces, and find communion, hope, courage, and keep manifesting a better world.
Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times, come again no more. Many days you have lingered around our cabin door. Oh, hard times, come again no more.
We didn't forget, folks. We're going to ask for the offering now. Todd's got a closing song for us. Thank you for your generosity.
There's a typo in the program. The song is "Here Comes Our Rainbow Again" by Chris Christopherson. Scene was a dusty old cafe. Waitress sweeping the floor. 2 truck drivers drinking their coffee. And 2 Hoke kids at the door. How much are them candies, they asked her. How much have you got, she replied. We've only a penny between us. Them's 2 for a penny, she lied. And the daylight was heavy with thunder, the smell of the rain on the wind. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. One truck driver called to the waitress after the kids were outside. Them candies ain't 2 for a penny. So what's that to you, she replied. In silence they finished their coffee, got up and nodded goodbye. She called, hey, you left too much money. So what's that to you, they replied. And the daylight was heavy with thunder, the smell of the rain on the wind. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again. Ain't it just like a human? Here comes that rainbow again.
Yeah. Thanks again for having us here. We, I don't think it was mentioned. We have spoken here a couple times before, but you know, it was years ago. I think the first time we spoke here was maybe,
At least
might have
3
been,
years ago. Right?
oh, it was longer than that, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, the very first time.
But
So-
you all look great.
Yeah, yeah, you haven't aged at all.
It's the math.
It's a big love fest in here. We lit the chalice as we came together, reminding ourselves that we must pause, reflect, and commune together to gain strength in this community of people who reflect back a desire for peace, justice, and a better world. As we extinguish this flame, let us take with us the knowledge that we are not alone in the struggle to create a better world. And let us be a beacon of comfort and inspiration to others. Together, we can move the mighty oceans of ignorance and hate. We can bring the light of justice to this land. Together, we know a lot. And if we do the best we can, perhaps we will once again have faith in humankind. Go in peace with hope and determination.